If you hang on here for a minute, I'll show you a chart, and it'll help explain what I'm trying to explain. But I keep seeing this, millennials living paycheck to paycheck. They can't keep up with what's going on. They can't afford to move out of their parents' homes. A, I I have a unique story in the sense that I grew up with no money. Neither my parents graduated high school. I think maybe one person in my whole family graduated high school. Hell, I barely went to high school. There was no talk of going to college. Like it was, around our home, it was it was a mess. We just didn't have no money. My dad worked in a steel factory. My mom like abandoned us when I was like 12. I had to go figure things out, educate myself, and I went on to start a bunch of companies and make a bunch of money. And life's thriving. And, you know, to the point to where now own and invested in over a dozen companies. Life's good. I can't complain. So I've seen both spectrums, or both sides of the spectrum, where you know what it's like to just grow up with nothing, with even no hope, or like you had to escape. And here I am now. Um, but I've also spent 20 years building companies around recruiting, executive search. One of the companies does career services. We help people figure out what they want to do in life, whether they should go to college, not go to college, what college degree. We also do something called performance coaching. Right now, we're working with a team of industrial psychologists on a program and a set of tests to help people just do better at work because we're seeing what's going on right now in the workforce. People are coming out of college programmed to lose. You're coming out of school with this mindset of, I shouldn't have to work. I shouldn't have to work 40 hours. I should only have to work 32 hours. I shouldn't have to do anything I don't want to do. And if I want to do something, you should pay me $50 an hour. We're just watching people just fail out there right now. So when I see stuff like this, it says millennials are living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not surprised. I'm the one that gets my business friendships ask me to come talk to their kids because their kids are failing in life. I see it at the companies where we do coaching for our clients, and they're bringing their kids to the table saying, "Hey, my kid's 24 years old. They got a decent degree, and they can't keep a job to save their life." Unfortunately, there's no amount of money that you can pay sometimes. If you can't get through to the child that work is going to be tough sometimes, they're just going to stay home forever. But right now, I'm kind of blaming the schools and our college system because they're setting you up to fail. You need to go back to the college and say, "Give me my goddamn money back. This isn't what you promised." So, what's funny is a lot of the comments on this article were saying this is what happens when you don't pay people a living wage. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. For someone that grew up broke, there was people in my. What's an easy way for me to say this? I've never knew anyone that was poor that consistently worked 40 hours a week and kept a job. I knew broke people, but I didn't know poor people. If you worked 40 hours a week and you kept a job and you didn't have like 12 kids, which, there's people in the neighborhood that did that, you weren't poor, but they were broke. A lot of times they were broke because they just blew their money, man. Like they just blew it. We have a big issue right now in 2022 in the modern day world, especially with social media, where we can't separate what we need and what we want. You need to pay your rent. You need to get your health insurance paid. Like, you need to get your electric bill paid. You don't need to go out to dinner tonight. You don't need to go to the bar. You don't need that booze. You don't need that. If you haven't noticed, at least in Michigan, when they opened up all the dispensaries, the places to get weed are packed nonstop. There's lines around the building. You don't need that. You want that. That is the big difference between the people that had some money under the mattress in my neighborhood and the people that were broke. Be frugal, only spend the money on what you need, and even making a little bit of money if you're smart and you live right, you can save some money. How else do I know that? I tried to help people get out of the gutter, man. It was always one of my goals in my 20s. I was like, okay, I'm escaping this life. Can I help other people? Man, you try to help people manage their money and they don't want to hear it. Like, they'll argue with you. They'll tell you that ain't living. I deserve it. And they'll blow their money on clothes, on food, on trips, and it's like I can't help you. I'm trying to show you how to put away $100 a month so you can open up a discount brokerage account. This is way back before online trading. Just so I can try to show you how to get out of this poverty mentality. It doesn't matter. They'd go to Hudson's, blow their money on clothes. Go to the Irish pub down the street from us, get hammered. You can't help those people. And in that same sense, I saw that I know doctors that live paycheck to paycheck. And that's where the whole pay a living wage thing falls apart. Um, it doesn't matter what wage you pay. If you blow all your money, you live paycheck to paycheck. I knew doctors were making $250. They blew it all. Drinking, partying, traveling, Porsche, homes, houses, like jewelry, watches. Like, it doesn't matter what you make. You can still live check to check. That's how it is. Yeah, it's tough to get by on just $15 an hour, but not if you got a roommate. I knew a lot of people that did that in their early 20s. Then they saved some money. They took a couple of classes. They tried to get a job paying $20 an hour. Now, $40,000 a year isn't poverty to me in Michigan, anyways. I talk to my father about this all the time. We just had another conversation. I mentioned it on another episode. My dad worked at a steel factory making like no money an hour. He's like, Jesus Christ, if I could have made $40,000 and, in terms of money back then, not 40,000 exactly. But today, he's like, at 40,000 today, I could have the apartment we used to live in, which wasn't great, but it was not bad. He would be, he could have that. He could have a car. He would have a few, bucks to go up north camping for a week. And he's like to have no education, working at Amazon and having healthcare benefits. He's like, that sounds great. When he was growing up, like in the 50s, there were no jobs. That was his biggest complaint. There was no jobs. Now, there's jobs everywhere. So, like, I don't want to see any more stimulus until all the for hire signs come down. The sandwich shop down the street from me is paying up to $20 an hour right now. That's $40,000 a year to make sandwiches. Yeah, you might not be able to go to Cabo. You might not be able to keep up with all those people on social media who are going out and eating, truffle fries every night. But you could pay your rent. You could have health insurance. You could have a car to get you around. You could have clothes. That's the problem, though. Social media has just made it worse. We're seeing all these people live this life that they're not even living, and then we think we deserve that too, even though we haven't done anything. But one of the biggest issues, I'm going to show you right here. You go back to the 70s. This is like when my father's working in a steel factory. This is when inflation hit right here. This is high inflation time. 80s was like 13% mortgages, like crazy times. Glad it wasn't alive then. Things kind of got better. This is when we went into the crash. We tipped up. But that's 2017. This is hours worked. We were working like 1,900 hours. Now we're down to 1,750. If you haven't noticed what's going on the last few years with the big push for like socialism, the anti-work movements, the living wage, which I'm not even arguing with that because I think, we need to bring wages up. But no one really pays like minimum wage around here. It's always been up a little bit. But there's a general thought, especially if you come out of college, that you shouldn't have to work 40 hours, that all corporations are evil, all managers are terrible. And you think that way until you become a manager yourself. There's nothing more enlightening when you have a friend that becomes a manager and the script gets flipped. And it's like, oh man, this sucks. Whole other episode. But there's definitely a do less and expect more thing going on. And you read it on LinkedIn. You read it from all these like 20-something bloggers who've never built anything, who've never owned anything, have never managed anybody, and they're really pushing this. You shouldn't have to work more than 40 hours. Maybe you should only have to work 32 hours from home. Like, no accountability. No hard work. You shouldn't have to work 45, 50 hours. I get it. But in my world, where, you starved at times, and there was no food on the shelf, there was no bad jobs, and there was no quote-unquote 40 hours. You worked, until you had food in your mouth. You worked until you got your rent paid, or you lost it all. We've lost that ability to provide for ourselves. We think because we went to college or our parents told us we were special that we should get $30 an hour for just breathing air. And if someone's not willing to do that, then I'm not going to work and the government should do it for me. Look, man, this do less and expect more is not working. Stop getting your career advice from TikTok and LinkedIn. I don't even go on LinkedIn anymore for that reason. It's so full of people giving advice that crushes careers and destroys lives. I don't want to even be a part of it. You keep looking at this stuff because it sounds good. This is how people build a following. You want to build a following fast, tell people what they want to hear, even if it's detrimental to their success. No one wants to hear work harder. No one wants to follow that person. They follow the person that says work less. Go into your boss's office tomorrow and demand a raise. You deserve it. Even though they have no idea what kind of employee you are. Well, how's that work out for people? Then the seed gets planted in your head that I'm worth more money because this TikToker said it. And then you leave a good job to go to the next place when you find out that job sucks. So you got this anti-work movement going on. You got this do less. You shouldn't have to work 40 hours. There's this whole mentality that is totally counterproductive to succeeding in this world. And then we wonder why we can't move out of our parents' house. We can't get our school loans paid for. We can't launch a career. Or we're at 30 years old, we're in the same place that we're at 22 years old. Look, you do the minimum, expect the minimum, but usually less than that. No one gets anything for doing the minimum. You want to show up to work and just breathe air and keep a chair warm, you ain't getting nothing. You might not even get to keep your job. If you want to get somewhere, it's probably going to take more than 40 hours. Don't waste your 20s screwing around. That's a time when you should be logging 45, 50 hours. I'm not saying 80 hours here. 45, 50. You got it in you. You're not that busy. Your life's not that cool. Get the work done. Build up a skill set. Show you're dependable and reliable. And by the time 30, you'll catch your wind and start moving. This whole I don't want to work attitude. If you ran a business and people said that to you, what would you think? It's like going to work tomorrow and go, how do I make my boss's life easier? How do I make my coworkers' life easier? What if I got in 15 minutes early and stayed 15 minutes later? What if I stopped showing how little I care and actually show that I care? This whole thought of doing less to get paid more is not working. It's destroying lives. People are broke and they can't pay their bills. Just because you read it online doesn't mean that's the way it is. I don't know. This is the conversations that I've gotten in, if you heard my other episodes, in the last probably 5 years with friends' kids, some business associates that are a little bit older than I am. Their kids are coming out of college now. And it's like, man, I get the call because their parents are both college educated. They both have jobs. They live in, nice homes. They had every advantage in the world. They got to go to a top 25 college. Everything's paid for. A graduation car. Get the hell out of here. You got a car for graduation? Man, I had to work from I was like 12 to 16 to buy my first car with my money. Dude, get out of here. Why is it you had every advantage in the world, and at 26, you're still living at home, and I done moved out at 18 and started 3 companies. This is where my friends start calling me and say, hey, man, come talk to my kid. You got to tell them how it is. Like, it doesn't matter. By the time you're 26, you're so set in their ways, you can't change them. It's like, man. And then we get up, we wake up at 35, 40 years old, and we have this great sense of disappointment. We're not where we thought we were going to be. Life didn't turn out the way we thought. By 30, people thought maybe I'd have a house, thinking about getting married, I want to have kids, and it's like, man, I didn't get out of my parents' house till I was 27. I still got these school loans that, a lot of people just aren't even trying to pay their school loans off. They're waiting for the government to pay it off. And it's like, man, I just think it's a mistake. Just get it paid off, get that dark cloud from over your head out of the way, and just work and bust your ass. There's such a disconnect from the people I know that moved here from other countries who haven't gone through our educational system, they come over here with, I'm here to work. They got no ego. There's no like pride that I can or can't do that. It's just they show up and they work. And it's funny that you actually have a higher chance of being a millionaire, I think, as an immigrant than you do if you're born here. Like there's some stat out there. Because you come over here and you just work. You don't say, I'm too good to do that. No, man, you're never too good to put food on the table. You're never too good to pay your rent. You're never too good to pay your bills. You gotta do whatever you gotta do. My dad worked 2 or 3 jobs at times. People won't do that anymore. The people I know that actually paid their school loans off, a lot of them got a job at 22, had a 40-hour week, and they still worked at a coffee shop at night or a restaurant or retail on the weekend. They waited for those seasonal jobs that come around Christmas time. They stacked up that extra money, and they got their school loans paid off. You know how many people I know like that were mid to late 20s right now that bought their first home, they got their school loans paid off, they got, $100,000+ cash in the bank. They're starting to learn how to invest their money in, growth funds, and this is by late 20s. Have your own home, 401k, have money in the bank. Why is it people can do this, but other people are struggling so much? So I could talk about this for 5 hours straight. I know what it took for me to crawl out of the gutter, and I spend so much time talking to people. Wrote about it in my book that's coming out called Headwind: Navigating Life in Your 20s and 30s. Do you have any idea what it's like to start at zero? I had nothing. There was no money coming from my family. There was no hand-me-down silverware. There was no going to college. There's nothing. Literally having to just, everything that's yours, you worked for. Turning that into what I have now. And there's people out there that got to go to a top 25 college and they can't even get out of their homes. Do we not see that there's a problem going on? Not with just education, but how we are as a society when it comes to just hard work and making sacrifices and doing what you have to do to provide for yourselves. Do we not see that this is a major issue? Right now, state of Michigan's short like 1,000 EMS workers or something like that. And I said this last year. It's like, what happens when people stop working and there's no one there to save you? You're going to get T-boned on the middle of the road, and there's going to be no ambulance to come because no one's working. Society falls apart, and we're starting to watch it unravel now. I don't know. I'm telling you what, if you want to make it, you got to put an extra 5 hours a weekend. While everyone else is trying to work less than 40, go work 45. If you want to crush it, work 50. And when I say work, don't show up to work and keep a chair warm. Do something. Don't just try to brown nose. Do something. Keep learning. Keep working hard. Be dependable, reliable. Keep grinding. You're going to make money right now. Plain and simple. Don't end up like one of these numbers. It's not a good life. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one.